Hello everyone, welcome to a new chess video. Welcome to the Danish Gambit, a totally spectacular opening that'll make you beat your opponents by suffocating them until they can't take it anymore. So without further ado, if you don't know this gambit, I'll show it to you quickly and then we'll dive deeper. E4, E5, you know, the two most popular moves in chess, and here we'll continue with D4. We're going to give away a series of pawns to end up with deadly activity and have tons of attacking lines. First, they capture this pawn. We don't recapture. Instead, we give another pawn, C3. And when they capture us, we don't capture, but develop our bishop to C4. And after pawn takes pawn, we'll capture with the bishop, and we'll be in the Danish Gambit position. We've sacrificed two pawns, but we have some totally impressive beastly bishops. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to punish all of your opponent's moves. Meaning, this opening is going to make you win many games, especially in Blitz. If you don't believe me, stay tuned to the video. First of all, these two bishops would be attacking the king side. If the opponent, in a Blitz game, quickly decides to develop their bishop anywhere, we simply capture this pawn, and we've already won not just the pawn, but the rook. Therefore, this bishop can't move. So you'll tell me, well, I'll move the knight. It's not that easy either, because if you move the knight, I'm going to advance the pawn. And watch out, because this knight can't jump here or here, because it's defended by our queen. This knight has to go back, which would be too sad, or jump forward here. And if it jumps forward here, we have a surprise prepared for him. We're going to do the typical sacrifice of the Danish Gambit and many other openings. Bishop takes f7, we attack the weak point of the position. It can only be captured by the king. And when they capture the bishop, the double attack with the queen is imminent. Queen d5 check, and when he goes back, we recover the material with queen takes knight, and this king, which is the most important thing, stays in the center of the board without being able to castle, because it's already moved. Plus, with very little protection, which is going to leave us with some totally impressive attacking lines. We're going to develop our pieces, castle, and we're going to come with everything toward the king. Now then, let's get down to business. Let's quickly review the line e4, e5, we give away the first pawn with d4, we give away the second pawn with c3, and now, playing bishop c4, we give away the third pawn on b2, which we do capture. Before continuing with the first line, which is totally spectacular because you're gonna flip out, I have to thank you. You already know that YouTube is working terribly, especially with my channel, and from one day to the next, it stopped showing all my videos, so I wanted to thank you for the support you showed in yesterday's video. You guys are the best. That being said, let's start analyzing the super powerful variations of this gambit, which is why you're watching this video. First, let's analyze the most logical move, which you're probably wondering about. I told you, this bishop can't move because the bishop would capture here and the rook would fall. However, this bishop actually can move to a square. Chess teacher, it could come to b4 and give a check to the king. In that case, we couldn't capture here anymore because we'd be in check. We would have to cover ourselves from the threat. How do we respond to this situation? Do we move the king? No, obviously not. Do we give up this bishop for the knight? No, because we want to keep both of our bishops on the board. The move then will be with the knight c3 or knight d2. Well, here I'm going to recommend the move knight d2. A very powerful move, and you'll see why from here on out. First, I recommend knight d2 because that way we keep threatening bishop takes pawn, a totally brutal threat, which is why we developed our bishops here. They could follow up, for example, with knight f6, and when they play knight f6, we already said what we had to do, advance this pawn. Now, for example, they're threatening knight takes e4. You see that this knight is pinned, therefore, this pawn would fall completely for free. By advancing, at least this pawn doesn't fall anymore. Now, black has two options, either come here or come here, because you can see they can't come here and not here either, because the queen is there. Therefore, coming here would be very passive. Coming here seems like a tremendous move, since it's putting more pressure on the pinned knight. Here it would seem that we're already in serious trouble, but nothing could be further from the truth. The ones in trouble are them, and they'll wish they hadn't played this line. Let's see, first of all, how can we do it? We have to come up with something to take advantage of this situation. The good thing is, I'll come up with it and give it to you so you don't have to. Just imitate it. We're gonna sacrifice this bishop. As always, bishop takes f7, check. But when they capture? Now I no longer have queen d5, check, to recapture the knight because we have this knight in the way. That's true, but we don't need to bring the queen all the way here. We can play queen d3, check, and we eat the bishop on the next move, or we'll continue with the attack, which you'll see. Now, this king could retreat and lose a tempo, but here, the most common move, I've searched the database for what was most used by black to defend against this, and it was playing d5, hoping we'd capture the bishop and this knight would stay defended. What happens is that by playing d5, we can capture en passant, giving a check once again. Therefore, we'd be in a much better position here. Now, if they have to block, the most logical thing is to block with the bishop, attacking our queen, and now we can capture this pawn right here. We're attacking this knight with this piece and with this piece. So the most normal thing is for them to trade this knight quickly to get out of trouble. And what do you think? Are we gonna recapture with the queen or recapture with the king? Well, neither of the two. We're gonna continue our attack against all odds. Look, we have a totally brutal move right here. I want you to enjoy this line because it's absolutely impressive. If you want, in your games you can recapture, but I'm gonna show you a totally impressive way to continue. We'll place this queen over here, giving check, and once again we're attacking this knight. Plus, we're putting pressure on this line and threatening to capture this pawn here and make a fork. So when the king moves away, pay attention because we have this pawn, we capture here with the pawn, forking the queen and knight. Don't tell me this line isn't totally fascinating. We fork the queen and knight, so the queen has to move away. Most likely, it'll go here in X-rays to try and make some interesting discovered attack with the king. And what are we gonna do? Are we gonna get out of the discovery here by CA capturing the knight? No, we have a totally impressive move once again. Whoever guesses this move is literally God, because it's practically impossible to see. Only computers see it. But since we've studied it, we know we have this totally impressive move, Queen e5. And why is it so impressive if it's the same thing? Look, it gets out of the pin, 1, 2, it keeps the support, and 3, it's creating a very strong battery, threatening checkmate on the next move. So this move is all threats. How can black stop this? The truth is, they're having a pretty tough time. The mate attack is imminent. The attack to capture here is imminent too. First, they have to defend the mate, but once they defend the mate, they're leaving this capture here. We capture here, promote to a queen, they have to capture it, so we capture back, check, and we can see we're entering a totally powerful line. When they come back with the queen to defend this check, I can tell you here that you can trade queens and then capture this knight, and you have a totally winning endgame with a rook and an extra piece. You don't have to memorize what I'm gonna tell you next. You do this and that's it. But we have a brutal move with Coca-Cola, as Grandmaster Pepe Cuenca would say. He's a genius. I'm sending him a shout out from here. We have a brutal move, which is knight f3, trading these knights. This knight that black had lost, they'll say, oh, this is very good. Well, first, hold on a second. I can already see you in the comments. I'm already seeing you in the comments. You're hanging the queen. You're absolutely right. This queen has to retreat first. Where is this queen gonna go? Livestream mistakes, no big deal. Luckily I corrected it in time. Where's this queen gonna go? We'll put it back here, threatening checkmate once more and attacking this bishop. A bishop that has to retreat or be defended by the queen. And now we'll place this knight here. As I was saying before, I just memorized too many lines, guys. Forgive me. Knight f3. Now, they're gonna trade this knight because they already considered this knight lost. And what do we do with this? Seems like a very bad move, right? Yes, it seems like a very bad move, but it's actually very good because we're opening the line for the rook and putting totally fascinating pressure on the g7 point. It seems like this can't be stopped anymore. Besides all the extra material we have. For example, they can play here. Why? To try and place this rook here? The last hopes they have left. This is practically becoming a serial killing. If we play here attacking, they could play here defending. And now here we have a masterstroke, which is long castling. We're gonna enter with the rook, and now they can definitely resign. This line is totally impressive. You can't tell me it's not. I hope you're really enjoying these lines. The most important thing isn't memorizing them. You know, chess is very complex and games are unique. The important thing is to understand all the concepts. And the more concepts you see in games and are able to relate, the better you'll execute them in your own games. Let's see what happens here. If instead of playing the knight here, which we've seen leads to advancing the pawn or giving check, they play a slower line to avoid trouble, since they're 2 pawns up, like d6, to avoid trouble, as I said. Here, we're gonna recommend the move knight f3. We develop our knight so that, who knows, in the future, after the knight here, we could jump, make this typical attack here, and therefore, black can play a move as typical as bishop g4. Bishop g4, which is a huge mistake. This is already a mistake. Simply, we go back to the usual. This bishop is undefended. You can see this in any of your games. You know that on the channel there's a video on how to punish this move in general, which is sometimes quite bad, and I show you how to punish it. If you want, come on, I'll leave the video in the description to go watch it after this one if you want. And now, let's see how to punish it in this position here. Simply, we capture the f7 pawn, bishop takes f7, check. When the king recaptures, we can jump with the knight to this square here. Knight e5, check. Chess teacher, you've gone crazy. You're sacrificing the knight. The knight isn't sacrificed because the queen is undefended. Therefore, this knight cannot be captured, and at the same time, we're checking with the knight and capturing the bishop with 2 different pieces. So when he moves the king, wherever he moves it, we're simply going to recapture this bishop here that our opponent has gifted us by placing it in this pin. What happened here? Well, we've won back a pawn from our opponent, and above all, we've ruined his castling. This king can no longer castle and will stay here in the center of the board for the whole game, easily attackable. We've seen then that this move was very bad. Let's see what happens if they play bishop e6, trying to exchange one of our most powerful bishops. Why? Because this is the bishop. This is the bishop that's usually sacrificed here and causes so many problems for black. Therefore, how should we play if they try to exchange this bishop? Well, we're going to exchange it, of course. Bishop takes e6 and pawn takes e6. And now, how do we continue? Well, with the move queen b3, a double attack. We attack the e6 point and also attack the b7 point. A double attack so fearsome in chess. The only move that defends both points at once is queen c8. Because it defends here and it defends here. And now we simply jump with the knight to put more pressure on this point here. They'll tell me, come on, chess teacher, I'll just advance it and that's it. Then a totally brutal checkmate would come your way. This pawn can't be advanced, therefore it can't be defended with any piece either. The only piece that can come is the king. The situation is already starting to get murky. It seems black is already in trouble. But if we don't know how to punish it, it's useless that they're in trouble. Therefore, I'm gonna show you how to punish it. You're liking the Evans Gambit? It's spectacular. We're gonna capture this pawn here with the knight. Knight takes e6. And now what? We're giving away this knight here. We're losing a lot of material. Yes, but we're diverting the defense of this pawn here, which was the queen. And now, by capturing this pawn with the queen, we not only defend this pawn, which was attacked, but now we're going to capture the rook, because as you can see, it can't be defended in any way. Therefore, we would have not only a positional advantage, but also a material one. How I'm enjoying these lines here with you. Even if YouTube treats you poorly, we're having a great time. I truly enjoy recording here on my little wooden board, showing all these lines for you. And not so much computer, so many variations by the computer and all that. I love the real board. Let's see what happens if our opponent is super aggressive and comes with the queen to hit the weak point. Well, dear friend, I have a surprise for you. I've sacrificed 2 pawns for you, but I'm going to sacrifice a third by playing knight f3. I threaten your queen and gift you this pawn here. I'm giving you the g2 pawn. Have you gone crazy, chess teacher? Yes, I've gone crazy. Yes, let's be honest, I've gone crazy, but I'm giving you this pawn for something special. I'm going to bring the rook over here to attack your queen. The knight is defended, the rook is also defended, so the queen has to move away. And now I suppose you all know this tactic and you've all seen it, but if not, I'll tell you. Bishop takes f7 here is winning. Why? Because if they capture with the king, we'd have this knight jump, check, and we take the queen. It would be beautiful, but if they don't take, it could also be, chess teacher, that they don't take the bishop. So what do I do? It could be, for example, that he moves away with the king, of course, but then we have a totally spectacular move here, which is rook takes pawn. Now we sacrifice the rook. We're threatening this knight here, therefore the attacks are imminent. They can't move the knight because even more problems would follow. We could enter through here, discovered attacks. Therefore, the most normal thing here is for them to capture this rook. They accept the exchange, and then we capture here, defending this rook. You won't believe it, but the most played move here, without a doubt, is knight h6. If you take me here, I take you here, and not much happens, but we simply play bishop here, checkmate. This king can't get out. We've seen many options for black. Let's see, the best option for the black pieces. That is, what happens if you play against a player who has studied theory and knows this line well? How can we counter it? Well, the best move here is knight c6, a slightly strange move as it seems too passive, but, well, they could play anything against us, so we have to be prepared for everything. In this case, I recommend, as always, knight f3, a quite powerful developing move. The thing is, we have a problem, and I'm gonna explain what the problem is. When they give us this check here, we can no longer use the same strategy as before, which was to play knight d2 and all that to come with queen b3 and take the bishop, because this bishop is defended by the knight. Therefore, we're going to change course a bit and jump with the knight to c3, and now you'll see why. Knight c3. Black can continue playing, naturally, with knight f6, a very normal and ordinary game, and now we're simply going to castle. Once we castle, what can the black pieces do? They can castle too, for example. And we're going to continue with the move knight d5, a quite powerful move. Why is it such a powerful move? Because now this knight is being threatened by two pieces. Therefore, this knight here has to be captured. And we'll recapture with the pawn, putting a lot of pressure on this knight here. A knight that's running out of good squares. The most normal thing is for it to come to e7 to put more pressure on this pawn here. And we're going to make the strong move queen d4 to put a lot of pressure on the enemy's castled position. You know, here, without forgetting the theory, you have to remember one fundamental thing. We have to attack. If we play this gambit, we have to attack non-stop. Our idea is to take advantage of our two bishops, which are aimed at the enemy king. Therefore, a queen to d5 in this position is brutal because it's threatening a direct checkmate. There are several options here to stop the checkmate. For example, f6 is disastrous because we'd simply advance the pawn to d6, discover check, and we'd take the knight on the next move. Therefore, this move is not possible. And the other one, which also seems possible, is to bring the knight over here, attacking the queen while defending this point here. The thing is, now we just have to move our queen to the king side, queen to g4, threatening checkmate again, not immediately, but now we attack the knight first, which can't move. If the knight moves, it's checkmate. Therefore, this knight can't move. It's true, they could play d6, defending this knight and also guarding against a possible discovered attack. The thing is, we have to take advantage of the bishops. I always tell you in this opening, use the bishops. We move the bishop on d3 back one square, redirecting and improving it by placing it here, putting more pressure on this knight, attacked by two pieces, and this knight can't move because checkmate would follow. Therefore, this position is fallen apart. The black pieces can practically do nothing here because we're also threatening a discovered attack on this bishop when we moved back. Therefore, this position is unsustainable. Do you know what move many books recommend against the Danish Gambit? They recommend the move d5, and I'm going to show you how to fight it. If they play d5, we'll capture with this bishop. It seems that the idea of this d5 is to give up this pawn but free up the position a bit. Now, it's true, they could play c6, as many of you might think, forcing this bishop to move, exchanging queens, and taking advantage of this extra pawn that black has. But nothing could be further from the truth. We have the move that always saves us in this opening, which is bishop takes f7. This, you always have to calculate this move. Now the king can capture, goodbye, because the queen would be left totally undefended. Therefore, the king has to keep defending the queen with king to e7. But there's this spectacular move, bishop to a3 check. And now the king can't come here to defend this queen, but has to move away. And we're gonna take the queen for free. Thank you. So we've seen that the move c6 is complete garbage. Why? Because then we'd capture here and they'd lose the queen. What move do the books recommend after d5? Well, they recommend the move knight to f6, threatening this bishop, which is currently, quote-unquote, pinned for the queen exchange. We'll simply defend it with the move knight to c3. True, they can capture it, but now our knight here would be in a pretty good position. We've lost our most powerful bishop, but our knight has ended up in a very good position. Many of you will think now they can threaten the knight, and once it moves, they'll be able to trade queens. But here, there's a spectacular move, which is knight to f6, check, giving away the knight. It can't be taken with the queen because of the bishop, but it can be taken with the pawn. And now, we are the ones who trade the queens. Why? Because now we'll do bishop takes f6, check, and on the next move, we'll take the rook. What if our opponent doesn't want to enter the Danish Gambit line, d4, and when they capture here and we play c3, they don't capture here but try a line like, for example, d5? We shouldn't worry, because we're simply gonna capture here, and after the queen captures, we recapture this pawn here, and we're left with equal material. We're not even down a single pawn, and we also have extra tempo, because we're going to attack a queen in the center of the board with the knights. We'll develop faster than the black pieces. However, here we have a material advantage. Therefore, the most normal thing is that they won't play this line against you. If they do play it, it's no big deal. d4, they take here, c3, and here the most normal thing is for them to capture bishop c4. It's possible they still won't capture here and play a line like this one. We just keep developing, and at some point, they'll end up capturing this pawn here, and we'll capture it with our bishop. And if they don't capture it, well, we'll end up capturing it ourselves with a knight, and we'll enter another gambit line called the Goring Gambit, which is also very powerful. Now then, for those of you who've made it to the end of the video, I want to thank you once again for the support. I'm really loving the support that I've been receiving lately. You already know that YouTube is behaving very badly toward us. Before, we'd search for chess on YouTube, and we were first. We were trending. And I don't know what happened to YouTube. It's dropping us from one day to the next. But together, we'll make it. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, it's because you liked the video. Please leave me a like and a comment. I'll really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, I ask you please to subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing. In fact, YouTube is taking away my subscribers, and I want to reach 100,000, so I hope you love the video. I thank you all for the support. I'll read all your comments, and I'll see you in the next video, friends. Goodbye.